on.
What else do you want to know about owning a rooster? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you owned it by accident.
Yeah, no, we definitely like bought the chickens from a feed and seed up in Spartanburg.
Yeah.
They were pre-sexed. They were all pullets.
Pre-sexed.
Pre-sexed, they separate them by male and female. They're called pullets when you buy them. They're all supposed to grow up and be hens. And sometimes, this always happened to me.
So
growing
1 out
up.
of 4 chance, huh?
I mean, 1 out of 4 is not bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, then one of them's a rooster, and he is, honestly, I grew up with chickens. Like my dad always had chickens, and we would occasionally get a rooster. This is the most chill rooster I've ever had.
Oh, good.
He is actually a really cool rooster. He's massive too.
Yeah, I saw like a picture of the video you sent. And I was like, holy shit, that's a hoss.
Oh yeah, he's a big boy. And honestly, he doesn't like crow obnoxiously, but he does crow. And I think that's why the Greenville ordinance exists, right? Is to keep it from being like a noise issue. But like I've already kind of put out to my neighbors. Like I put a note in all of my neighbors' mailbox that was just like, hey, like we're really excited. We've been raising these chickens. You may have noticed we have a crower.
So sorry.
One of them turned out it was a rooster. Please bear with us. We're trying to find him a new home. But like it is one of
Did
those
anyone
things.
respond?
No, because I didn't exactly put my address on it because the people who know, and they know who we are. So I just put.
It'd just be like your 3 like right around you, right? Primarily.
He's loud enough that I'm sure that if you were walking around in the morning at 7 in the morning, well, really, he hasn't crowed at 7 in the morning. It's like 7:30. He's not crowing at the ass crack of dawn. I'll give him that. Some of them start at like 4 in the morning, and he hasn't been doing that. But it is early enough that if you went on a morning walk, you'd hear him if you were at the top of the neighborhood. But I got the neighbors immediately around us and a little off from us just to like, hey, like we're trying to be good neighbors, bear with us. The thing is though, I'm not gonna lie, I really like him.
Aww.
I'm like really sad to get rid of him. And
There's no alternative you can do?
If nobody complains, well, the thing is, it's like any ordinance, right?
Yeah.
In theory, somebody could complain to the county and be
Sure.
like, hey, this guy is not following the rule. Please take care of it. And the county could leave us a love letter saying, hey, you need to take care of it. And if you don't,
Otherwise, you get a fine.
you're going to get a fine, right? So in theory, I could be an asshole neighbor and keep this rooster, and maybe nobody would ever complain.
I mean, one of your
but
neighbors has
I should try to be a good neighbor.
One of your neighbors has like a mini tour bus, an RV, and like 3 trucks in their front yard.
Oh, I know he doesn't care. I'm sure he would just be like, "Oh yeah, they're pretty great. Roosters are great." I bet he would be pretty chill about it, honestly.
Speaking of pretty chill, today's episode, if you haven't been able to tell from the title, Bimini's Oyster Bar and Seafood Cafe here in Greenville, South Carolina. This is the only one of these that is Greenville, and it's a local establishment here. Been there for years. If you are from Greenville, you're passing through Greenville, if you see the giant red and white State Farm looking water tower from the highway or on the hill of Haywood Road in Pelham, which is Villa Road right behind Clemson High, this is exactly where Bimini's is.
I had to look this up. So it's basically across the street from Clemson.
Yeah.
Is it Clemson Eye?
Yep. It's
Doctors?
right behind there. As soon as you turn on Villa, it's like right there on the left.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a weird spot for a restaurant for sure. Because I was surprised to see that's where it was.
Yeah, it's been there for I mean, since I was a little kid, and I'm 37 years old, born and raised in Greenville. So, really proud to do this one. And I'll say this as a shout out before we get into the reviews. So, if you've never listened to 1-star reviews before, it is weird. We like to read the 1-star reviews of a place that we enjoy. But it's because we like the irony behind it and the entitlement behind people, and we like just trolling trolls. Let's just be honest. It's fun. But we are going to read the good things about Bimini's, talk about why Bimini's is a good place to eat. And if you are in Greenville, you should definitely check it out, as it's the only one there. It's a local owner there, as like I said before.
It's picking on people, but it is also like, you can learn something from the 1-stars.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but sometimes you just learn that people are just very entitled.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, I know you called dibs on the first one.
You know what? Why don't you read it, and I'll read the response.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Easily the worst seafood I've ever had. Nothing was cooked correctly. Nothing was seasoned. I'm not sure how the waiter got this job, and he spent more time talking behind the bar than he did doing his job. It took, 3 O's, it took 30 minutes to get a shrimp cocktail appetizer. Mind you, this place wasn't even at half capacity while we were there. By the way, this was 6 days ago, so this would have been mid-August. It wasn't half capacity when we were there. Would be more understanding if it were busy, but there were maybe 4 tables, including us. Overall, terrible restaurant and terrible service. Not sure how it got a 4.3 rating because it was bad.
Okay. Response from the owner, which do you know who the owner is?
I don't know them personally.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, this is definitely. Oh, I'm sorry, they actually say at the bottom of
Yeah.
their tagline. An expertly crafted meal and attentive service are most definitely among our top priorities here each and every day. So we're sorry to see that you've been left with such a different impression of what we do, Morgan. From the food to the wait times, everybody on this team believes in uphold the highest standards across the board, which we believe is why that great online rating is there. Here is sincerely hoping that we can welcome you back soon to show you the 5-star meal that this team is truly all about. Best wishes, Paul and Sharon H., owners.
That's a very polite response.
Yeah. It's their personal business, so like it's worth
Yeah,
their
I mean
time.
they take pride in it, and I commend that. I really do.
Here's one. This is from a month ago.
Mhm.
This was our third attempt to dine here. On this occasion, we had a family in town for the holiday and decided to give them one last chance. However, upon being seated, this place was, all caps, hotter than hell. We gathered our group and made the decision to leave. We ended up around the corner at, all caps again, local Q, parentheses, go there. I promise it's great. What a great move. The board games and temperature were a massive step above. Bimini's. Friendly advice to Bimini's. Repair the AC or tell the owner to 0 stars.
And they sign off
They
with their
sign with their
name
name.
and family. It's
Yep.
the person's name and family.
Man, the amount of all caps in that is insane. There is a response from the owner. We're all about making sure that our customers can enjoy a perfect meal in equally great setting, person. So we're sorry to know that these qualities weren't on better display for you. A comfortable atmosphere is truly important to us, which is why your concerns will be looked into right away. We know that every member of this team can easily show you a 5-star experience, so here's hoping that we can have you back soon for precisely that. Paul and Sharon H., owners.
So let me just say this: with COVID, the pandemic, and the staff shortages all across almost every restaurant, service industry place you can think of, I think the theme here, a lot of these reviews will say like, don't waste your time, and there's the service was slow, and I think the previous one was saying like, oh well, we were like one of the 4 people there, and the service was slow. Folks, again, remind yourselves that government handouts and the unemployment bonuses back up until like a month ago have affected employment. I mean, just in general, the service industry, because folks are not coming to work, unfortunately. And so, I would just say be kind to those who do show up, for one. And two, like, be considerate that, yeah, even though there's only 4 tables seated, there's probably like maybe only 2 waiters or waiters and a bartender at the most working their ass off as it is. So, again, kind of take your time there.
Perspective. It's perspective.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Your night may be like disrupted because things are going a little slower than you want, but it will be okay.
Yeah. This one, don't waste your time here, all caps. Awful play.
No, you'd have to read that how that is spelled. I see it.
Awful play to go.
Awful.
The seafood is not seasoned and everything is undercooked. It was not busy at all and took us about an hour to get a small shrimp cocktail because our server was too busy talking and goofing off with someone else in the restaurant. Parentheses, if I should even call it that, parentheses. Not to mention when we finally got our food, my fiance's food, mahi tacos, were so terrible, she had to go puke after the first bite.
Ooh.
My food was a, quote, seafood boil, quote. The description had it described as how much food and what was in it, and mine had about maybe half of what was described, and it literally had no seasoning and no sauce. In response to the owner, fresh and expertly prepared ingredients is sincerely one of our greatest passions and priorities, Cody. So we're truly surprised and concerned to hear about the experience you and your fiance had. Everybody here believes in consistently upholding the highest standards in cooking and preparation, which is why there's a matter of immediately looked into. We know that the entire team can most easily show you the true 5-star treatment that so many others have returned back time and time again. So here is a sincerely hoping that you both can show at the same time. We can show you both the same dining experience sometime soon down the road.
Man, all of these 1 stars are like recent. Have you noticed?
I did notice that the next one I was looking at was from a week ago. The past 2 from 5 to 6 days ago.
Yeah. These are all very recent. 1 star. Started off bad. Waited 15 minutes to be served a drink. Then, when I asked questions about the menu, the waiter responds with, I have no clue, which makes me think a freezer. Secondly, when we ordered the sampler appetizer, it came out with a long hair in the coleslaw, showed the waiter, and immediately left. I will not be coming back and recommending no one goes here. Health department should be notified. And there is a response from the owner that basically is about as classy as the other couple that we've read that basically says, hey, no, we take that seriously, so like we'll take care of it. Why is he had a question about the menu, and the waiter responds with, "I have no clue," which makes me think a freezer. So he basically is Sherlocking that as the waiter not knowing about the food means that there's a freezer in the back. Well, it's seafood,
Right.
300 miles from the ocean. So
Sure.
there's probably at least on ice. I will say
Yeah.
that.
But at the same time,
I mean, it could have just been higher too.
Well, just because the owner, or just because the waiter may not know something, doesn't necessarily jump to the conclusion that it's poor quality. That waiter could be new. That waiter could be not familiar with in general. I have had honest waiters and waitresses before when I go to a place and I'm saying, "How is this?" And you've ever had that waiter waitress? You kind of
they make the face. They won't say, but they'll make the face.
And they'll just be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like if someone's like a newer waiter or waitress, yeah, I mean they're gonna be like unfamiliar. I get that. I could be compassionate towards that. Is what it is. This one is interesting, and it goes back to the service thing I was talking about a second ago. I hate leaving bad reviews. My family was going to try this place for the first time since moving to the area. I've been told that, quote, "This is the place you need to go here," kind of place. We went Sunday at 2 p.m. with no one really in the restaurant, with a 10 to 15 minute wait, but that turned into 35 minutes. After being seated, we waited 30 plus minutes and we still were not even asked what we wanted to drink. Servers walking around not knowing what's going on. The food may be good, but we never had a chance to try it. Hopefully you have better luck. Okay, so does that mean they just didn't even get to eat there? Because the food may be good, but we never had the chance to try it.
No, that means they didn't eat. They thought the wait was too long.
Wow. And then the response is, making sure that every customer receives the same attentive, welcoming, professional service is something that makes something that matters a great deal here. So we're very sorry that the qualities weren't on better display for you. This is something that's going to be addressed immediately. We know that this team can easily show you and your family the full 5-star treatment. So here's hoping that we have the opportunity to welcome you back soon for exactly that. Yeah, that's a little sad. And here's the thing. It's borderline, right? Because like, if you're at a place and you don't eat there, technically, do you leave the review?
Wait, say again?
If you don't even eat at a place, do you leave a review?
I mean, if the review is essentially, "I wish I could have, but this wait was way too long," I can understand why somebody would leave the review.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't comment on the food in the review.
Now, here's one that's the food is good, but again, kind of I think similar complaints here. And this is from 6 months ago. So this would have been sometime February 2021. The food was good, but not fabulous like you would think of for the pricing. They charge oceanfront prices without the oceanfront view. Not a single server had a mask on, and this is a CDC mandate for all servers.
CDC, but also 6 months ago, I saw that review. That was back in February, March.
Yeah.
So there definitely wasn't a mandate locally.
Tables were, yeah, exactly. This is Greenville, South Carolina. Tables were not spaced, and no one was using two-step process to clean tables. If my son had not requested to dine here for his birthday, we would have skipped out on another restaurant where food is excellent and pricing is more reasonable. And, typical response from the owner there, apologizing and that kind of stuff there. I wonder how old the son was.
I don't know. I am a little concerned. It does seem like COVID has not been kind to this business based on how many of these 1-stars are so recent.
I'll say this from following their Facebook, because they just like any other place suffered a really hard time, like most restaurants and service industry places. They were very creative though, as best they could with their business, and I think for like a long while, I want to say at least 3 or 4 months in a row, they had a advertisement for BOGO gift cards. So if you bought like a $20 gift card, you automatically got a $20 one for free. If you got like a 41, 80, and then if you got like a 50, you got 100 and so on. So I thought for me, that's a very smart way, right? Of like getting back your business, even though you're taking a little bit on the front end, guaranteeing that people will come back in the long run was like the big idea of it, and I think they did a good job
Well,
there.
some of the idea too is like if the food seemed a little off this time, give it a second go and see if you still feel that way.
And Greenville wise, like I think they were one of the first restaurants in our area, especially maybe in that area at least, that they did like the giant tents in the parking lot just because they didn't have a lot of outdoor seating,
That was a good call.
but they wanted to survive, right? So they definitely had to work around a lot of regulations, which I'm sure we're given.
Here's a 1-star. Just the organization of this one. Hello. My friends and I were excited to try the Bimini's restaurant today. We heard the seafood was amazing. We wish we would have gotten a chance to try it. Our party sat for 10 minutes without ever being greeted, while I be believer our would have been server ignored us, chatted with other guests, and cleaned the tables around us. We are in the service industry ourselves and completely unimpressed with the hospitality. We decided to leave, and the host didn't attempt to rectify the situation and just stared while we left. Pretty disappointing.
We ignored, but not one, but two hosts while they were talking to each other's, taking other people's names down at the table. We were literally standing right in front of the host podium. It's a Saturday, and you had to have a band, and you knew you were going to be busy. Ignoring a regular is not a good thing. I would give you no stars if I could. So here's the thing, and I think we've done this on past episodes before. This person is claiming they're a regular, and they've never left a good review, but they waited until they got one bad service.
I really dislike that. That puts a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, if you really enjoyed this place, one, you would have given them a good review to help them out to begin with. By the way, there's over 1,000 reviews of this place, and it's like a 4.3 stars, I believe.
I'm not gonna lie. Just from the tone of some of these emails. Oh, these emails that we are receiving as a podcast. No, these reviews. I actually have switched over to the 5 stars real quick just to kind of check. And same thing. I think this is just a very highly reviewed place because there are a lot of 5-star reviews in the same period of time. 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 4 months ago, 1 month ago. 3 weeks ago, and they're all 5-star, and they're all, this is really good food.
Sure.
So I feel a little bit less bad about some of these 1 stars now.
This one is a 1 star, and it's one of those where I guess the person doesn't really get the idea of what prices are. We came here for lunch, and we got 2 orders of a dozen fried oysters, fries, and a beer. It's $14.95 for a dozen and $2.95 for fries and $3.50 for a beer, which came out to a total of $39.26, including tax. I would say that was really priced for tiny oysters. The oyster itself was chewy and hard. Not really satisfied with the food, but our server was really nice and friendly. Okay, so in a general, kind of thing from the owners, which they were defending their food. But here's the thing: I just came from a vacation in Palm Coast, Florida. We ate at a oceanfront restaurant, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we got a dozen oysters between me and my kid we shared because he wanted to try oysters so badly, and surprisingly, he liked them. And I got them steamed instead of raw like I like, just because I didn't want to freak him out. If I'm remembering correctly, I paid, I think, $22 or $23 just for the dozen, because I remember saying to myself, if he eats this oyster and doesn't like it, that's $2 down the drain out of my pocket right now. So the fact that they charge $14.95 for a fried dozen, that's still a pretty good deal in my book.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting review. The hostess was extremely rude. Oysters are too big. Good oysters are supposed to be small. You ever heard that rule?
Mm-mm.
It's because it's kind of one of those like fake rules. The idea is that and I don't even think he means the oyster meat. He probably means the shell itself. The idea would be that a smaller shell is just easier for a person to slurp out of.
Yeah.
Right. So like once it gets later in the season, they stop harvesting, partly so that you don't get like bigger and bigger shells that are like less, like it's the same size animal inside, and you don't want to like slurp off a big shell. They're still completely edible. It's not that they're supposed to be small. That's the only reason that like, oh, it's a bigger shell. It means it was harvested later in the season. As long as the thing isn't dead, it's an edible oyster. So get over yourself, person.
Let's see here. We have came here many times to enjoy some low country seafood, but this place has gone downhill. What happened? For $170 meal for four, I think if we hadn't enjoyed it, at least said sorry. Man, this is a weird sentence. For $178 meal for four.
Oh, wow.
I think if we didn't enjoy it, they would have at least said sorry. You didn't like it. Okay, that was a very long
so they
sentence.
just wanted an apology.
Right.
Okay.
We will not be back. 4 exclamation points. Server was great though. Guess you can't get Charleston style food anywhere in the upstate anymore.
Oh, fuck off. Go fuck yourself and move back to Charleston if you really feel that way. Come on.
They came in hot because let me repeat the first sentence again.
We're not in Charleston. If you want to be in Charleston and have Charleston food, live in Charleston or go visit Charleston. It's a different food scene.
Sure. But immediately you came in hot when you started with, we have come here many times to enjoy some low country food. And yet, again, going back to it, but the one time.
I even missed that part of it. So you're
Yeah.
basically saying that you like this place usually, and
Yep.
the one time you don't like it, it's not as good as Charleston.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Okay. I'm seeing a trend in in like how long it takes people to get sat in these 1 stars.
Yeah.
It took over an hour to get seated. They forgot about us, even though we kept reminding them. Oh, I bet that helped. I bet that really helped. 30 minutes sitting at a table. We hadn't even ordered drinks yet. This is probably the worst service I've ever received. Don't waste your time here. Go somewhere else. Here's a genuine question to be thinking about. If you are at a place and you haven't put in a reservation, what is your like drop dead time of like I am not going to wait for a table?
Like, am I waiting for the hostess or am I waiting like at the table?
I think waiting to be sat in the first place.
I think 20 minutes is like my hard limit.
I think me too. Like, and actually, you actually have kids right now.
Yeah.
With kids or without kids, I bet it's shorter with kids, right?
No, it's shorter without because you think about it, it's easier to sit down 2 rather than sit down a family of 4.
Oh, okay.
Right. I think that's the other thing too. If I have kids, I'll immediately just try and think of another solution because having hungry kids is not a fun thing.
Right. Yeah, I think half hour is like my absolute drop dead limit, and I better. And if I'm like with a group of people, it's less of a big deal because you can kind of like chitty chat, like 4 or 6 people, however many people you are, you can chitty chat right while you're waiting for your table.
pass time.
An hour is like they had to have said like, hey, it's gonna be an hour, right?
For sure. Yeah. I think the one time I did that was because I was not thinking about myself, right? So it was Lannon's 11th birthday. He really wanted to go to the Outback, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and Outback had an hour and a half wait. And my mom and I had gotten there at like 5 o'clock. So I was thinking to myself, like, okay, it's 5 o'clock. There can't be that many people. Church crowd is gone. But again, going back to what I said earlier, like the staffing was so low. And I wasn't mad at Outback, but we knew the kids were hungry. So we did a plan B. We went to Grill Marks instead at the mall.
Yeah.
But then but because it was a birthday thing, he really wanted, we tried to make the kid happy. We went back the next week. And my mom and I, knowing ahead of time, we were like, okay,
reservation?
we can't.
Oh.
They didn't take reservations, unfortunately.
Outback doesn't take reservations.
I know.
Wow.
So we got there instead of 4:30, not super hungry. And again, knowing that the wait was at least an hour, we got sat, I think, around like 5:30. So it wasn't too bad. So,
bring a book.
Or just have awkward conversation with my mom. Yeah, absolutely.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, be nice to your mommy, Andrew.
I try. I do love her. This one's just no from 4 years ago, and that's it.
Just no. Okay.
But let's go back to, like you said, like there's over 1,000 reviews of this place. There's 1,300 actually, to be precise. 1,300 reviews of this place. And again, I think you were like really in awe of the decor alone, right?
Oh yeah, no, it honestly. So we go to Edisto at least once or twice every year.
Yeah.
And there's a place, Whaley's Mill. It kind of has some Whaley's Mill. It looks nicer than Whaley's Mill. I'm not gonna lie. Listeners, if you've been to Whaley's Mill, you know what I'm talking about. That place is a bit of a greasy bar. But this place has a similar-ish vibe, but it looks a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, it definitely has like that Seacoast vibe just from the colors, the colorful plates.
Yeah.
If you were to tell me, just looking at just some of the photos,
Oh yeah.
this is a Charleston-esque place, I'd believe it in general.
5-star, best seafood place that we've been to in a while. Oysters were clean and tasty. Megan was our server. It was fabulous. We'll definitely be back. 5 stars 2 weeks ago.
There you go. Yeah, and they have a wide range of stuff on the menu, right? Like stuff you would see like any oysters anywhere else. They have gator bites, as we had mentioned. They have club sandwiches. Looks like they have some really decent low country like shrimp and grits here, because I'm looking at one like the sauce is like orange. I see a giant crab plate on here. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And it looks like they have really good in-house cheesecakes. So
Oh yeah. No, actually, I just found I found a 5-star that's a bit long, but I'm gonna just hit the highlights of it. The steamed pot was great. The raw oysters were good. If I had to do it all over again, I would have gotten nothing but the steamed oysters and crab clusters. They were probably the best snow crab legs I've ever had, and ditto the steamed oysters. That's probably my one quibble, and boy, it's a minor quibble. The oyster and crab were absolutely perfect. So was the shrimp, mussels, and clams. Some of those were a bit overdone. So I'll just skip those next time and focus on the oysters and crab because they were right on the money. That's good to know. Okay, oysters and crab. This place's specialty. Maybe they overcooked some of the things. Bit of unsolicited advice for the kitchen with the raw oysters. I could have gone for a mignonette. Mignonette. I am like, I'm gonna get picked on for not pronouncing this word right. Mignonette. I'm gonna have to ask my wife. Oh
Whoa.
my god. Sure, it's traditional and not necessary, but it would have gone really well with the oyster you served. They just needed a touch of acidity I didn't get from the cocktail sauce, which was perfect with the oysters in the steam pot, oddly enough. And the reviews about Miss Sharon's cheesecake, spot on. It was amazing. The rum runner was the perfect aperitif, and this place even served a perfect cup of coffee with dessert. That's high praise. Next time I'm in town, I'll run, not walk to Bimini's. I wish we had one of these back home in. Oh my God, this person's from Ohio.
Oh, wow. That's where you get the best seafood.
Oh.
In Ohio.
Oh man. And they even had like the owner did respond and was just like, "Thank you so much for the compliments. We'll take some of your suggestions in consideration."
So it's a fun, lively place from what I can tell. They do live music. They have, I think there's trivia nights from time to time, but it's a family place. So definitely check them out.
Yeah, so like the tags, right? So
Yeah.
like there's always suggested tags from Google. There is 55 reviews that talk about the music. There's definitely a lot of live music at this place.
Yeah, so it's really lively. Again, Bimini's, they had a hard year, like much like other place, but they survived. Good for them. Check them out. It's off of Villa Road, right where Pelham and Haywood is. It's not too far off of 385, right off the exit there. So check them out. They've been in Greenville for a very long time and a very well-established place. You got something there?
Yeah, you know what other tag is even more popular than the music?
Go on.
111 tags for atmosphere.
Aw.
With various photos of their sky
Decor.
the sky blue tiles.
And like a lot of pictures of like their like favorite customers, I think. There's like a bunch of framed photos all over the place.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it's cute. So Bimini's, again, Greenville, South Carolina. Check them out. Listen to us wherever you listen to, whatever you listen voices on. Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Castos, all the things there. We're pretty much on.
Cupping your ear like outside and just like trying to pick up what people are shouting and saying.
Mm-hmm. And a tin can on a string. You can listen to all that there. Give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and we'll have more episodes coming out to you based on inland seafood, Larry's favorite.